What's up, YouTube? It's Nats, man. 72 coming at you from the hashtag Dirty South. Oh, man. Man, I hope everybody's doing good tonight. Appreciate y'all being on here. Listen, we got somebody waiting. He's right down here. I'm looking at him. He's waiting to jump in here. And before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and put a disclaimer out. We are not discussing SGC wait times, operational procedures, or proprietary information. All right, this is a non-sanctioned SGC interview. This is to get to know Andy Raffa. He's in the community. He's in the Bobbles group, Facebook group. He's reaching out to people, but this is a chance for all of us to get to know him. So I'm going to ask that if you're a friend and family of Natsman 72 and of SGC and of the hobby, you're going to respect that. You're going to leave that subject alone. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you start popping that stuff off, I'm going to kick you out. So everybody's been warned. So let's give a fine how do you do to Andy.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Hey, I love the studio effect.
Yeah.
I know you shared with me. If you don't mind, share with the group kind of what you're doing and what's going on right now.
Sure. So my lighting is a little Meatloaf Paradise by the dashboard light here. So
Appreciate
right now,
that.
yeah. So we're actually, believe it or not, we're actually pulled over in a Walmart parking lot right now, because which I can neither confirm nor deny if I might go inside and see if there's any retail in here. But so my son is a high school senior. I was telling you earlier, and he's taken his SAT for the last time. He's done well, but he wanted to take it one more time. And because he was scheduled at his high school in Palm Beach County, but because Palm Beach County schools aren't open yet because of COVID, then that's my son right there. So
there he is.
Yeah, there he is. I'm not lying. So because Palm Beach County schools are closed with COVID right now, and so is Broward and Dade and Port St. Lucie and Martin County and everything that's within 45 miles of our house, his SAT got canceled. So we had to rebook it, and the closest place we found was in Naples, Florida, which is about 2.5 hours on the opposite side of the state from us. So we're driving over tonight. We're going to stay over in a hotel over in Naples, and then he's going to take the test in the morning, and we'll drive back. So we got a little bit later jump than we wanted to tonight, and so here we are in the Walmart parking lot talking to you.
I wanted to jump off the screen so everybody got to see that and hear that, man. Let's go ahead. Tonight we're going to be discussing baseball. Andy has a pretty incredible bio. You better not be turning red or be embarrassed because it is impressive.
Thank you.
I think you can share a lot of knowledge for us. So let's look at a couple of different topics we've already talked about. We both want to discuss tonight.
Sure.
So tell us about your background. Share with the group your background, how you started off and your life experience and why it's placed you where you're at.
Sure. So I've always been a baseball guy. We moved to Florida from New York when I was 13 years old, and it wound up being this kind of great situation for me. I moved from New York, which I loved, to South Florida, which is incredible baseball down here. And I played baseball in high school, got an opportunity to play in college, and I was really blessed with an opportunity to play some professional baseball at the minor league level with the then Florida Marlins, which was great. And then I had injury that ended my career, coached a little bit of high school baseball. My wife and I met each other, decided that maybe teaching wasn't going to be the way to go for the kind of life we wanted to live. So I became a financial advisor, worked for Morgan Stanley and for Merrill Lynch, dealt with a lot of athletes that way. So I got to see that side of it. Got really involved in the Major League Baseball Alumni Association. From there, once I got out of being a financial advisor, I opened up my own baseball school in South Florida. We wound up being the largest indoor facility in the state, and I also did some time scouting for the Seattle Mariners. And then now I'm actually back coaching a little bit of high school baseball. One of my buddies, a guy that worked for me at the baseball school, is a high school head baseball coach, and so I help him out during his season. And of course, obviously, I stay my hand in sports with my job at SGC as well.
Man, that's a pretty impressive resume there, and
Thanks.
and it's a great leadoff. What is I know? I guess my take is I don't have kids, but I do have some nieces and nephews that some of them have played organized ball. Growing up, I played organized sports. I did play soccer for a couple of years, believe it or not, when it wasn't cool. And played hardball too. I always thought I was better than what I was, so you see, I'm a fan. But I guess this would be a question as a parent and as a coach and as a former player. What's your take on kids being, with travel ball and and all this other was it like spotlight ball or something like that?
Sure.
And all these camps and stuff. Is it better to have a kid as a parent? I know they want to play the ball, so that's why you do it. And as a parent, you want to let your child succeed. And if they want to do those extra things, that's great. But as a parent and as a coach, have you, in your own family or your own players, have had to say, look, or your opinion on it, not be one sport driven, be multiple sport driven to a certain extent? I've heard both sides of the story. I've never talked to anybody that's actually been involved as much as you have. What's your take on that?
That's actually a great question. It's something that I've spoken about a lot over the years, and I've really wrestled with a lot over the years. Is what's the right thing to do? As a parent, I've always felt like you want to do what your kids want to do. For me, it's a little bit different in some regards because I've been able to play at higher levels and kind of get to have some success in the sport. I never felt like I had to live vicariously through my kids, and that's not a knock, on parents, because we're all trying to do the best for our kids. But at the same time, you hear about the travel dads and the travel moms and all that kind of stuff, and they're really putting a lot of pressure on their kids. And I really for my own children, I have a son and I have a daughter who both were involved in athletics and still are. We try not to put that much pressure on them. But I'll tell you, like, especially down here in Florida, I remember I used to coach travel baseball because, when the kids are younger, it just becomes a whole thing. And I would give them off for the summer because I always felt like they needed a break and their bodies needed a break. And I used to catch a lot of flack for that. They're like, why are they not playing the whole time? And, the truth is I've talked to, orthopedists. I was an old catcher. So my orthopedic surgeon has become a friend of mine. I've got some frequent flyer points with him that I cash in for surgery every year or so. And, he said that kids need a break. And I think what happened in our generation is we played multiple sports. You played football in the fall and you played basketball in the winter and you played baseball in the spring. And what happened is you were able to rest your sport specific muscles in between each season, and they were able to recover. And you work different muscles and different styles of play. And what would happen then is you become a little bit more well-rounded athlete than just a sport specific guy. And what it did was it created that well-rounded player, created the catcher like Craig Biggio, who could move to second base and be an all-star and a Hall of Famer, and move to center field and be an all-star and able to have that versatility because he was able to do things like that. Guys like Darryl Strawberry, who are these incredible athletes, were incredible athletes because they were able to do all these different things. I do think that kids right now tend to be a little over-specialized, and I think that they definitely tend to be over-scheduled as well. I would love to see there be a little bit more balance for kids right now. Look, when they're in high school, like my son, like I said, he's a senior. That's different. He's at the point in his life where he's a baseball player, and that's fine. But when he was young, he played flag football and he played soccer and he did tennis and he did baseball, and we tried to get him involved as many things as we could and see if something stuck for him. And look, we're a baseball family, so that kind of stuck for him. But yeah, I think about. We had a kid at the high school I coached with a couple of years ago who had to have Tommy John surgery when he was a sophomore. He was 16 years old. And the orthopedist said it was because he threw so much as kind of that tween age on travel ball that it just wore out his ligament in his elbow. And, that's an epidemic among youth sports. Like there are so many Tommy Johns and knee surgeries among young athletes, and I think it's because of overuse, because they're not being more well-rounded as athletes.
And you're exactly right. I grew up with Ray Durham, and he was an all-around athlete. He played foot. He could have played. He got offers to play Division I schools, running back and fullback, and he ran track and field. He did that, and he was one heck of a baseball player. I mean, got drafted out of high school. So, yeah, I think that's a really good point. Is that back when you rotated, and it's just now. I hate to say it, and if there's people out there, don't take it the wrong way, but there are parents out there looking to get that golden ticket. My
Absolutely.
kids got they're performing very well at this level. Let's advance them and try to get a golden ticket. And that's not fair to the kid or to the sport or to that's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. It's tough. It's tough to do that to a kid. Look, there are some kids that are just absolutely obsessed with it. I was absolutely obsessed with playing baseball. My parents were never really didn't put a lot of pressure on me. They were always there. They were supportive, but I wanted to get out there. And even when I got into high school, I was the guy that got up and went to the batting cages at 7 a.m. because of me, not because my old man, pushed me out of bed and said, get us to the cages. I just loved it. And that's where I wanted to be. That's what you want your kid. You want your kid to have that passion, because that's how it really gets into the other phases of their life and helps them build success.
True. All right. Well, and then tell me about your major league experience.
Well, it's a minor league experience.
Minor league.
And
Okay.
I joke around at the office, and I tell the guys sometimes, if you ever want to look up unimpressive minor league careers, you can look me up for there. I was going to get drafted by your guys, the Montreal Expos, out of high school. But now they're the Washington Nationals, which you probably were not a fan when they were in Montreal, because you don't sound French Canadian. So I would imagine that's probably not your team.
Oui.
But the Expos took a lot of interest in me in high school. I was going to go play college baseball, so I didn't wind up getting drafted. Went to play college ball for a couple of years, and then I signed as a minor league free agent with the Marlins and went to rookie ball, went to camp with them, and a short while in, I got injured and tried to come back, got injured again. I broke my thumb on my catching hand, and you can't tell because you're only seeing the upper part of my body, but I'm built like a fire hydrant, and there's not many other places for me to play other than behind the plate. Hell, now I was talking to a guy the other day. I could, nobody would even look at me in today's game. I mean, it's amazing. I'm not built like anybody that plays pro ball anymore. But back in the 90s, you could still be a guy that was kind of built like me and get a shot to play. Let Mike LaValliere kind of Pudge Rodriguez build. Now those guys are, those guys are doing something else now. But yeah, so I got injured and it just wasn't going to work out. But I tell you what, the experience of being out there and being with those guys and being at that, even at any kind of professional level, it changes your whole perspective. And it's really interesting too that, they joke around that athletes are like, Dontre Willis did not break my thumb. But they joke around that athletes are like a fraternity, and they really are. It's interesting how baseball players are all baseball, all kind of in the same. We all speak the same language, and when you walk into a room, you can kind of pick each other out. It's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Listen, it's a part of my life that is incredible, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. And so.
Well, in minor league ball, a lot of people don't realize with minor league ball and getting invited to spring training, there's no money. You're not
No.
You're there on your dime basically.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share your experience with spring ball and being a minor and what that grind is to some of our folks in the hobby that because I'm starting to get people coming over from basketball and they don't know a lot about baseball and just they're wanting to learn more.
Sure. So, minor league baseball as a sport is very different than any other major sports because of the minor league system. And this year, I feel like there was a real disservice in the abandonment of some of the minor leagues. and the player development. But player development historically has been what set Major League Baseball apart from the other major sports. And the reality is that when you talk about playing minor league baseball, and you're at every different level. You're at, you go to that rookie ball, then A ball, and then short season A, regular A, double A, triple A, majors, and at every step in that ladder, life gets a little easier for you. But I'll tell you that in the mid to late 90s, playing in low level minor league baseball, you make nothing. You have to have a job in the off season. And I remember our per diem, our meal money every day was $11. And $11 doesn't get you very far, especially when you have to remember that you have to pay out the clubhouse manager, the clubhouse assistant, and everybody else takes a little piece of that money. So,
Yep.
if you're lucky, you get some sandwiches in the clubhouse after a game, and then you got, $6 or $7 left over at the end of the night.
Locker
It's
rental.
tough.
I heard a team's doing locker rentals.
Absolutely. And every organization has a little bit different way they go about doing it, but it's a grind. You talk about a grind, it is a grind. Minor league baseball, you're always going for that brass ring, which is to play in the big leagues. But even the big leagues, man, if you think about the schedule that big league ball players go through, you're talking about 162 games over the course of really just a few months. There's 1 day off a month. There's 2 days off a month. Guys can't wait for the All-Star break so they can get a few days off. The minor leagues are just like that, except in the minors, you're riding a bus, you're carrying your bags, you're rooming with guys, 4 to a room in a hotel room when you're on the road. You're pooling your money together so that you can get some adult beverages after a game if you want to. It's crazy, but it's why guys make it to the big leagues, and they don't, baseball players historically don't have the sense of entitlement that some other sports may have, even though they get a guaranteed contract.
And they sell their soul basically. Ones that you want the first 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
You're under league minimum and that kind of thing, and able to go to arbitration or renew your contract or something, right?
Right. Yeah, you're just you're under team control, and then you see it a lot now too, where you see, the Rays have been notorious for keeping guys out of the big leagues so that they don't chew up some of their service time. You'll see a great prospect come up, and they'll push him back down so they can retain control of him for a little bit longer.
And that's what that's been talk in the community about Wander Franco.
Right.
That a lot of people don't understand with the shortened season. Why aren't they bringing players up like him to play? And it has to do with service time.
Absolutely.
It's just like the movie said, Moneyball. It is. Mm-hmm. It's a business.
Think about all the guys that were the hot guys in the hobby before the season started. You talk about Franco, you talk about Aquino. These guys that are these incredible athletes and these really the future of the game, and you don't see them on TV every night, and that's why. Because you know what the difference is those guys play in small market clubs, right? So, Tampa Bay and even Cincinnati's not even considered a big market club. That's what's going on, is they are keeping these guys because it's money in the bank. You don't see the Yankees holding guys down in the minors because they're the biggest market out there. You don't see the Cubs do it. You don't see the Dodgers do it. But you know what? There is a direct correlation between the success of those organizations and the fact that they're developing the younger players and letting them have opportunities in Major League Baseball. If Gleyber Torres is playing for the Kansas City Royals, maybe he's not Gleyber Torres.
Yep. And a lot of people just don't understand that backstory to baseball. It's a lot more advocates. You need an advocate to figure stuff out with baseball. You have the taxes on the teams that doesn't affect the Yankees. It doesn't affect the Astros. It doesn't affect the Dodgers.
Right.
They go over every year on their tax. They do it every year. And then that money goes to the money goes to the smaller markets to help them who don't have the money market to be able to buy these guys that they're getting. And then we've got so many teams now and there's comments in here that I'm noticing, and I apologize, y'all, and I'm loving y'all keep this chat going. We're able to see it, so just don't know that. But it's like in the Dominican, they've got academies where they're pulling these guys when they're 7, 8, 9 years old, giving them an education and putting them in camps in these academies.
Absolutely.
They're literally playing baseball all day. I mean,
Well, because a lot of those guys, the feeling is among a lot of those communities, especially down in the Caribbean, and is that it's the only way off the island. It's no different than I told you my background is I grew up in New York, and New York City, and Los Angeles and Chicago and Detroit were big basketball towns because guys played basketball, and that's how they got out of their neighborhoods. Well, you know what? Welcome to San Domingo in 2020. That's the way off the island. That's people talk about where the influx of Latin ball players, and those guys not only have they been trained since they're little kids, but they're hungry. Joe DiMaggio once said, "You'll never see a rich kid make it in the big leagues because they don't know what it's like to be hungry, to want something so bad." And, obviously that's a generalization, probably not very politically correct to say, but the thought behind it is you have to be able to have some kind of drive that's unteachable, to be some kind of motivation. You know what I mean? What's your motivation to do this? And that's what you're seeing out of some of these underdeveloped countries, which is why those guys are coming in, not only making an immediate impact, but becoming stars.
Tatis, Juan Soto, and Lewis Robert, they saved baseball this year.
Absolutely.
Dynamic, fan-loving players that make the game exciting again.
Mm-hmm.
They're young, well, look, they're hustling every play, every at-bat.
You're 100% right. And you know what? And you can really say the last 3 years or 4 years has really seen a real seismic shift in the popularity of baseball again. And let's face it, it's not a coincidence that we've also seen an incredible movement in the hobby, in the baseball card collecting hobby. It started in 2017 where you had Judge and Bellinger. Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger changed baseball again. It was like exciting. You saw these guys, they were incredible. I mean, Aaron Judge is a monster. He hits 10,000-foot home runs, and all of a sudden, he's popping up. You're seeing his Topps cards popping up all over the place. The next year, we had guys that came through again and did it. You had the Acunas and the Albies and the Shohei Ohtanis. Even though he's been a bit of a bust, he was exciting. And it keeps moving forward, and we're seeing it again. And now we're seeing it with the guys you just mentioned, and with Guerrero, and with Bichette, and all. It's just this really cool, exciting youth movement that I feel like people kind of grabbed onto and really ran with. It's been great. It's been great as a fan to see how the game has gotten some life again to it.
And that kind of can lead us off into a new topic. With scouting and with the deadline coming up, with your experience being a scout, what do you see? I'm gonna say, let's go with the Nationals. Let's go with the Yankees. Let's go with the Marlins. And you pick whoever else you want to pick. What do you think scouting for these guys?
Well, you and I talked about it a little bit earlier. I think that this is going to be kind of, the understatement of the year is that this is going to be a weird year. I think that could be probably said about anything where you could talk about today. But I think that you're going to see a really interesting trade deadline. At this point in the season, we typically have 4 to 5 months worth of stuff that happens that we can see. There's a lot of development. But we're not there. I mean, we're what, a month and a half into a season. I mean, this is the point where usually you're saying, the World Series isn't won in April. Well, guess what? We're in August, and that's where we are. So I think that a lot of teams still don't know if they're buyers or sellers. The Marlins are a perfect example of that. They came out of the gate hot. They've cooled off a little bit. But you know what? You look in the standings, they're still in second place. So what do they do? Are they going to make a move to try and be a contender? Or do they make the typical Marlins moves where they're trying to build things and continue to build for the future? I don't know the answer to that. I've seen a lot of talk that Yamamoto might be on the block because this kid was supposed to be a Rookie of the Year contender. He struggled a little bit, but he's got a lot of talent. So do the Marlins make a move with that kid and pull in some other talent? The other two teams you mentioned, I think, have perfect fits for the Marlins. for a long-term solution as far as having guys that could play for them. The Nationals, I happen to know Michael Taylor pretty well. He used to hit at our facility when he was in the minors. He lives in
Bobbles
Boca.
is going to love that. Bobbles, did you hear that? That is his favorite player.
Is it really? So Bobbles, I'll let you know, Michael Taylor is as nice as you think he is. He is a great kid. I think he's got a lot of talent. He's a South Florida kid. I would love to see the Marlins try and acquire him. He's a man without a home in Washington.
Yeah.
And I think that the inconsistency of his opportunities in Washington are leading him to, leading him to not be able to perform the way you guys would want him to. But where the hell is he going to play in that outfield? You've got young stars that are playing the outfield in Washington. But you put that kid, let's say the Nationals can acquire a Yamamoto and send Taylor and some prospects down south. Maybe then you got a nice little action there. The same situation could be said for Clint Frazier for the Yankees. What if Clint Frazier gets to play every day down in Miami where there's no pressure and nobody cares if he can catch the ball in the outfield? The kid's going to hit 320. He'll play every day. He'll be a star. In New York, he's riding the pines or he's watching from the outside. So I think that those would be interesting moves. I don't know if we're going to see him. I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be a big blockbuster right now. I really don't think there's going to be. I actually saw the Michael Taylor Superfractor on eBay the other day, Bob. You should have got on that.
I think he wants Michael Taylor's Superfractor if you ever see it.
I did. I saw it on eBay the other day. I was looking.
Wow.
So it's out there. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this trade deadline develops. There have been a couple of minor trades, but it's hard. If you think about how these blockbusters happen, they happen with a couple of major league talent and a whole bunch of guys in the minors. Well, guess what they don't have right now? A whole bunch of guys in the minors. They're not there. They're not playing. On the scouting level, where are the scouts going? This time of year, when you go to Roger Dean Stadium down here where we are, where the Marlins and the Cardinals have their minor league affiliates, this time of year, behind home plate is packed with scouts. They're all advanced scouts. They're all major league guys. Who's out there being a commodity? That doesn't exist right now. The season's non-existent. So decisions need to be made on kind of a different level and with a different idea of, okay, this kid did this, so let's hope he's still doing this. Or is he playing down in the Dominican right now? Or is he in Venezuela? Or is he over in Korea? It changes a lot. It changes a whole lot of the strategy behind it. And again, buyers and sellers at this point in the season, traditionally, we know exactly who's a buyer and a seller. But with the exception of maybe the Red Sox and a couple other guys, you couldn't tell me who's a seller right now. You just couldn't, because the Marlins, they're riding high in second place. They could fade. They could be in fifth place in 2 weeks.
It's crazy. And I know with the Nationals, I think it's the first time that I know of being a fan with them since getting back into baseball for the last several years. This is the first time I can recall where we're needing a starting pitcher.
Yep.
We've got relievers. We got closers. We've got guys down, in the minors, waiting to get caught up. But I don't really think of any of them as being a true starter.
Right.
And I think that's hurting. And I know I'm probably gonna piss some Nats fans off on here. I think it's really coming back to see maybe they should have looked at that Rendon and Strap contract a little more than what was than almost a knee-jerk reaction off the World Series. I think Anthony did more long-term through the season and was an anchor during the series that helped them win that championship. Not taking anything from Strat, but he has consistently had injury after injury. And does it pay out? Has it paid out to keep him? Not this year.
No. And Rendon, listen, Rendon made a name for himself. He became a star. And look, I understand that it's the finances of the game, but he was a fan favorite and he brought a World Series to DC. You really got to make a decision. that was a tough decision for them to make. I thought he was a dependable guy. So,
I think he was loyal to the team. Not saying Strat's not, but in loyalty, I'm gonna. And it was impressive to see some of these guys. As much as I hated, and hate's a strong word, seeing him go, I think it may have helped some future contracts with players, because now they're not releasing Carter, Keyboom, they're not releasing Garcia, they're not releasing Victor, they're not releasing Swan. Don't even bring them up in contract.
Right.
And that's who other teams will want. And they're not going to release them. And that leads right back to what you're saying about Michael Taylor. He is a great player. He should be playing every day, but he can't with what's on the roster. There's no room.
Exactly.
And Keyboom got demoted. It looks like I didn't see that. But yeah, well, they were talking about bringing Bell over from Pittsburgh. I think a bust the last couple of weeks. I don't think there's going to be any big trades.
No, I mean, look, Bell's name's been kicked around the last couple of years at the trade deadline, just like how Lindor has. I mean, I was reading something today that are the Indians going to move Francisco Lindor? You know what? I'm from Missouri, man. I don't. Boy, I dated myself with that reference right there. That's what my dad would say. I'm from Missouri, but
Show me.
I don't buy it, man. I mean, I've been hearing that for years. I mean, it's just not going to happen, or it's not going to happen with any real impact at this point too, because now I think Lindor is kind of on the he's kind of on the hump, and now he's starting to be on the backside of his career a little bit too. So
awesome. What trends are you seeing in the hobby as a collector? Who do you collect?
Who do I collect? Wow. Man, I collect just about everything, and you could ask my wife; she'll attest to that. But I guess sports card wise, I mean, I grew up a Yankees fan, so I do collect Yankees. I PC Thurman Munson. I'm a big Thurman Munson fan. Yeah, I mean, my dad, was a big Munson guy. I was a big Munson guy, and so I have almost an entire run of his cards. Even some of the harder to get ones, like the 71 Greatest Moments card I got. Which I really like. I've got a signed card from him. I got a signed baseball from him. So I've got some good Munson stuff. I got to meet his wife Diane at Old Timers Day a few years ago. So he's a big PC guy for me. I like Hall of Famers, but I also collect modern stuff too. I love ripping open packs. I love pulling the new hot rookies. I don't know. I'm just like a card geek like the rest of us, man. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about basketball, but yet I find myself ripping open mosaic boxes because I know that there's cards in there that are like, hitting a jackpot. And, I do know more. I do know a little about football, so I'll collect some football stuff too. But for my own personal, it's really just the stuff I like. I mean, in my office at home, on one of my shelves, I have a whole shelf full of cards that are just, just funny cards. Like I got the Billy Ripken card up there. Or I've got the Keith Comstock where he's getting hit in the nuts with a ball, and it's.
I got Billy up there too.
Yeah, he's up there, right? Exactly. So, I just love it, man. I just love the hobby. It's really cool that I'm able to go and play with baseball cards every day for a living too. I'm really for the last 10, 15 years of my life, it's like I never had to grow up because I got to be on the field for all those years. And now I get to, even though I get to Sydney AC now, I still get to play with cards. I see some of the coolest stuff ever. I talk to some really cool guys that are into the same kind of stuff I am. So my most recent obsession has been, those Funko Pop figures. So I love those little Funko Pops, and I like getting them autographed. So I got in my office, I've got 2 displays of signed Funko Pops. I just got a Paul Molitor one back. That's a Bernie Brewer Funko Pop signed by Molitor. I'm all excited about that one, and actually I think I'm getting a Richard Petty one back on Monday because I got a notification from USPS that it was shipping to me. So,
right.
I love it. I love that stuff. I grew up a Star Wars geek. I have all my Star Wars toys from I'm a kid. I'm just a nerd. So
that's awesome. With and being in the hobby, you're a collector. You're collecting a little bit of everything. We're there's a big issue within the community with retail, and being able to find products. I mean, people are fighting over stuff. They're stalking the distributors, Target and Walmart's. Inside joke between me and Andy but they're talking about discontinuing sports cards. Walmart, I haven't seen that. They just can't keep product on the shelf. My Target has not stocked anything new baseball related in 3 weeks, which is kind of disconcerting that maybe they're going that way. There's no sign saying that you have to go to customer service to get it. And then I know for a fact here in the Charlotte, I'm in outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I know for a fact it's been going on since Series 1 came out. Mm-hmm. There's a group in the area, and I would assume they're traveling up I-85 up the interstates, hitting because we're right off I-85 here. And they're going in, groups are going in with hanger boxes from Target and Walmart and replacing it with Walgreens. And for y'all that don't understand what the Walgreens edition is those yellow version cards of Series 1, Series 2, which brings a premium price within the hobby, especially if they're graded, because I had a Jordan rookie card, Series 1 Walgreens, pulled it from my Walgreens down the road and got it graded with SGC 10, and it sold for $300.
Wow.
So there's some money in it with those, and what they're doing is they're switching product out in Walgreens. But what's your take on retail? I got on my soapbox a little bit, but what's your take on retail, and what do you think can we do to change the hobby?
I don't know. I can tell you, I know that at least 2 of the Walmarts in my area no longer carry sports cards. So I've seen that, firsthand in our area. But I can't remember the last time I went into a Walmart or a Target and saw cards. And God knows I look every time. It's crazy though. I mean, we used to, back before the world came to an end and we'd go to shows all the time. I would be able to go on the road because I'm a lot of guys know me because they see me at shows. I'm the SGC guy that's on the road. So, I'd go and I'd be able to buy boxes and blasters and stuff like that. And I'd rip them open. I'd give them out to little kids and stuff like that. If there was a show today, I wouldn't know where I'd get the cards from. There's literally nothing to be had, to the point where, like, I'm watching guys go in there and buy things that, like, I'm watching sports card guys grabbing Pokemon cards and just deciding they're going to learn all about Pokemon because it's just incredible. And but the market is dictating that, like you said, you pulled a Jordan card out of a Walgreens and it was worth $300. Like, that's not what has normally happened over the last, 20 years of collecting. So, the fact that it's out there, it's literally like playing, it's better than buying scratchies at the 7-Eleven and trying to hit the lotto. You could buy a blaster and pull a 300 card pack out of a $300 card out of a $20 blaster. And it's like the second you look at what happened to Mosaic basketball. Basketball was, that was incredible. They were literally like, you could rip open that pack and grade all 10 cards in the pack, and you would make 10 times the money you spent on anything you bought. And it's still happening. So, look, is it good or bad for the hobby? I don't know. I think it's good in the fact that I'm watching kids, our generation collects baseball cards. And our dads collected baseball cards and our uncles collected baseball cards. The reality is our kids didn't. And sports take a huge tanking, especially baseball, with people younger than we are. But what we're seeing happening right now is I'm watching my son and his friends and the high school kids and even some middle school kids that are going out there and they're hunting for cards and they're learning about the cards and what's the most valuable stuff to earn and or to pull, and what are the parallels and what are the special things. And they're getting into the sport because they see the financial reward of owning those. So in some regard, I think it's good for the hobby. I think it's good for sports because it's creating a buzz and creating an interest among the new generation. But at the same time, I despise the guys that go into Walmart and on the day that they stock the shelves and they dump everything into their cart and walk out the door, because it doesn't allow for everybody. But it doesn't allow me to walk in and buy a pack of cards for an 8-year-old kid at a show somewhere. So
Yeah, and then Jab's family YouTuber posted last night a altercation he had with a flipper at a Walmart in Pennsylvania where he lives. And this guy actually brought 2 of his kids in there and told him where he worked. He had a T-shirt on for a school, and so he just started snooping on eBay. Well, the guy said he was buying these cards for his son's basketball team to break. But he literally took the entire case. The Walmart associate made him put it back on so they could take pictures that, yes, this product was out on the shelf at one point. This guy, evidently, if it's the same guy, they found him on eBay, and he's selling lots of boxes for anywhere from $600 to $3,000. I just don't understand people that are they going to do that, but you're going to use your kid to do that, and I ain't got no respect for you on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that takes it to a different level for sure. It's one thing if you're going to do it. Like, I get it. Look, it's a weird time in the world, and it's a weird time economically for a lot of people. And listen, if you can buy a blaster for $20 and you don't really care, then you could turn around and sell that blaster for $100. Look, I get it. I get the desire to do that, and I'm not, who am I to judge whether or not that's appropriate or not? But in the instance like you're saying, that's no different than the person who hides the merchandise under their kid in the stroller and walk out of the store with it. So,
and people, that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then something else I wanted to, there's been an interesting conversation in the last probably 2 or 3 weeks. And it's sort of kind of like, which came first, the chicken or the egg is what I'm calling it. Is the prices being driven by wax being broken open or people looking for individual cards? Because you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because some people say, well, the card doesn't drive the demand of the box. And other people say, well, the box demands the price of the card.
I think it's probably a little bit of both. Because there are products that you could buy and rip open and not get the same return for. You know what I mean? So, like Donruss baseball is not, that's you're buying that because nothing else is on the shelves. But at the same time, if that you can pull at a top series 2, that 3, what's it? Who's on that? It's Robert and
Chili had that card. Chili, speak up. Chili, the SGC collector, he's in here. The card you're talking about, he got.
Yeah, what I'm talking about. So it's got the 3 guys on it. It's like a future card. Yeah.
Was it Jordan, Bichette, and Lewis, I think.
Yeah, I think that's who it is. And so, if you can pull that card, what you're doing is you're buying those blasters and you're buying those boxes and the hangers because you're trying to get that card. That chase drives it up. And what's happening is you're finding other good cards in those boxes and you're selling those, and then that's starting to ride too. So, I think that there is a certain degree of chasing the card drives prices across the board. Because let's face it, if you walk into Target today and you buy a box of 2020 tops and you rip open every pack, you got a stack like this of the guys that you're keeping, and you're putting in your penny sleeves and card savers and sending them in to get graded, and then everybody else is in the trash because you're there's no room in your collection or whatever, or on your shelf or in your closet for all the common guys that you pulled out of that pack. So, but that being said, there's also plenty of products that people are buying just because of the product, because that product has something special about it. because that product is going to, you're really trying to hit the lottery on that. You're buying, National Archives because you want to hit the card within that product, and you're willing to pay the money for it. So,
yeah, and I know my local card shop guy, and there's not many left. I mean, we all know they took such a big hit, and now to be a vendor anymore for local card shops, to be a true vendor, you got to have brick and mortar and L's and everything else. They want to know what else you're doing other than selling baseball cards, to be honest. But he told me this was the first year his distributor allowed his customers, the local card shops, to buy the same retail, got authorized by Topps to legitimately buy from the distributor the same retail that Walmart and Target's getting.
Wow.
So he got it, but they had to wait 2 weeks after Walmart and Target got it. Well, then he got it, and it's marked up so high, it's cheaper to get it on eBay with free shipping. That's what I told him. It's like, I don't think they realize they've got such a small window to operate, maybe like 7 to 10 business days kind of deal. When they're getting, in my opinion, to be able to move that product out, it's going to stay stale, because we know as a collector, we're going to wait this new money out.
Right.
We know that prices are going to go up. They're going to plateau. They're going to drop. They're going to plateau. They're going to go up a little bit, and then they're going to level off.
Right.
And it's like a lot of the guys, the new money, I like that aspect, the new money getting into the hobby, they don't realize that. And as a collector, we know if we sit and wait, we're going to get what we want. And I feel the local card shops, it's just my opinion, they're trying to survive. But with the prices, even the local card shops, seriously, just a general hobby box in my shop is $278. You can go on eBay and get it for $215 and no shipping.
Right.
So
I think too that kind of brings me to another interesting thing that I've seen in the hobby, especially recently as well, which kind of goes hand in hand to that, but almost on the individual chase type of thing. There, you think about Bowman, right? So Bowman is like the brand of the minor league baseball player. It doesn't make any sense to me as a baseball guy why a kid who has never had an at-bat in affiliated ball has a baseball card that will sell for 10 times what a 68 mantle will sell for. You know what I mean? And I'm a huge Yankees fan, but I look at the numbers that Jason Dominguez cards are pulling in right now, and I'm like, holy cow, who is this kid? Because he's literally outselling the greatest Yankees of all time, who happen to be some of the greatest players of all time. So the kid honestly doesn't have an at-bat in affiliated baseball at all. He played some instructs last year, had a little bit of time in instructs, and then this year there's no minor league baseball, so he's at a camp somewhere. But yet he's got a card out there that's selling for $25,000-$30,000. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Because you got certain influencers, you got influencers that are dropping names. For whatever reason, they're dropping names. That's just, it's Chili said it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Let's see. Anybody got any questions for Andy? I know, Andy, there was a question about fantasy football. Do you play fantasy football? And are you scared to join Bobbles League?
I do play fantasy football. I am not scared to play Bobbles League. Bobbles, you're more than welcome to invite me if you want, and I will jump in for sure. I actually really enjoy fantasy football. It's a little bit easier now. I told you I used to be a financial advisor. I worked with a lot of athletes, and I had a lot of football players for a while. And so my fantasy football teams weren't actually very good because I always felt guilty not drafting guys that I actually worked with. But now I don't have that issue anymore. So I do enjoy fantasy football for sure. So.
All right. Well, just know that I set that up. I'm the agent. I get 10% knocked off the top. Send it to friends and family, Bobbles.
All right.
So anybody out there got any questions in the chat? We can see the chat. We both can see it. So like I said, we're not discussing SGC operations, wait times, anything like that. So just out of respect, please don't do that. But anybody got any questions? looks like we do have a little bit of a delay on stuff getting posted on here, and that's YouTube.
Yeah, I'm actually having trouble seeing the chat. So,
all right.
So if you see anything interesting, just read it for me.
This is from Chile.
Yeah, Chile. What do you got? That's easy. Yeah, I before you even ask it, typically you're looking at 130 points or less is fairly safe, at least for our holders. We are developing a deeper holder because there's so many great cards that are coming out of modern packs that we felt that, you know, we're making such a big push in the modern market that we need to develop a deeper holder for those. That should be coming, you know, within the next, I would hope next quarter. We've had a lot of questions about the Topps Project 2020 cards because those are described as being 130 points, but yet we have to kick a lot of them out because what we're finding is there is some variance in the thickness. And so if you're at 135, then we don't want that card pressing on the holder because it could do damage to the card, so we'll kick it. I've seen issues of cards that are the exact same card that we have to reject some and keep some. So easy there, Josh.
I did have a question from somebody that wasn't able to make the group. He had to go into work, and but with in general topic
Sure.
on this is it harder for vintage or harder for a modern card to be graded? Is that something you can entertain?
Yeah, sure. That's an interesting question. They're very different, and you know, graders. There are graders that tend to specialize or lean more towards one or the other. I think that vintage cards are very easy to grade on the top end and on the bottom end. I think that it's difficult to grade vintage cards in that 3, 4, 5, and 6 range, specifically 4, 5, and 6, because boy, that's a tough place to be at. Modern cards, I think modern cards are probably, I don't know if I'd say they're easier to grade, but for modern cards, you're going to get 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10. So I think the challenge in a modern card is what makes this card a 9, 9, 5, or 10. You know, the 9, 5 is a really important grade to me, and obviously Beckett has it and SEC has it, PSA does not. And I really think it's important because how many times have you picked up a card and you're like, geez, you know, this card really isn't a 10, but I don't think it's a 9 either. And I think that's where that 9.5 lies. But I do find that there's definitely a challenge for new cards between that 9 and the 10 range of, like, boy, that doesn't take a whole lot to get bumped one between, you know, one of those half points. So there's challenges in both of them. You know, and I think that every grader has their own things that they feel really comfortable with, and every grader has their own areas of the market that they probably feel like they struggle with more than other areas.
Cool. All right. Anybody else got any questions? I know Jay Michelin said, seriously though, I'm not that good. He's talking about in fantasy. He just likes talking smack. So
it's okay.
Round 0. Let's see what he says. Hey, I have a card thinner than the SP Authentic, which you sub, but larger than a base card, and didn't slab without getting specific, just in general. I think you probably really covered that with what you discussed with an example with Project 2020 cards, I think. But
yeah, it tends to there's a variance sometimes. And look, there could be there's any one of a million reasons why a card doesn't get slabbed. But if it was not slabbed because it was deemed too thick, then basically we have an incredible amount of quality control that happens within our office. And we don't like to take the chance that we're going to damage a card or that a card might press in a holder. So when in doubt, we'll probably kick that card out so that we don't damage, you know, the card that means so much to you guys. So
let's see. Got another question.
Purple Rain SGC cards are pretty sweet. They are pretty sweet. You're right.
I think that's done for like gaming cards and stuff, right?
Yeah, we're actually getting away from the purple labels. We are doing some tweaks to some of our labels going forward. Not major wholesale changes, but we have discussed doing some tweaking. But no, you can't get purple labels on your sports cards.
With the nationals, the national convention, I don't think it's going to happen. What's your take on the national as a fan? You share what you want to share as far as your work. I'm not
Sure.
and not leading into that question to get a response from that. But as because you said you're the guy known to go around. So what's your take on the? So you think the national is going to happen next year, especially with the potential of a strike happening next year? There's still talk,
Yeah. I mean, I knew for sure that the national wasn't happening this year. When we started rolling towards the summer and the numbers started going up and up and up, and they turned the New Jersey Convention Center into a field hospital for COVID. We talked around the office. It was like in April. We were like, this ain't happening. And then they tried to come out and say that they were moving it to December. And we walked around the office and said, who the hell wants to go to Atlantic City in December? This ain't happening. And I hope that next year in Chicago it happens. I love the national. My first national, I was completely blown away, and it was overwhelming, and it's such a cool experience. It's such a great thing for collectors. Whether no matter what you collect, really. I know that there's some displays in there. Our display in particular is always so incredible because we put together that museum display, and there's some unbelievable pieces we've displayed. 2 years ago, we had the original contract that they sold Ruth to the Yankees with. Last year in Chicago, we had the Tinker, Evers, and Chance jerseys. So it's just some really amazing stuff that happens. And so I think for the hobby and for those of us that love that stuff, I really do want it to happen. I don't know what the world's going to look like next summer. I don't know what the world's going to look like next month. I mean, hell, I'm lucky I know what month next month is, because it's been such a crazy upside down, wacky world that we're in. It's like one thing after the next. And I can only hope that, we're going to, get through this whole COVID thing, and be on the back end of it, and life get back to normal by next summer. I mean, shoot, but who knows? Who knows what happens? Kids are all going back to school this month. We're going to be rolling into flu season soon. The reality is we still don't have treatment or a cure. And do we see a major spike roll into the fall, which then turns into a major spike in the spring? It certainly is feasible. Hell, I know that every show I had on my calendar is canceled through the end of the year. So I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen, but I hope it does. The collector in me hopes it does for sure.
What would be some tips for a first timer going to the national? I've never been to a national. I really want to go next year to Chicago. My wife has been to Chicago. I've never been. So she's game. She loves baseball. So she's willing to go. So somebody that's never been to the national, any advice?
Yeah, probably to buy a multi-day ticket. It's overwhelming. Like when you walk into the, when we did it in Cleveland 2 years ago, you walk into the IX Center, it's like, holy cow, they got a Ferris wheel in the middle of it. Even at Rosemont in Chicago, like there's so much to see, and there's really great panels, and there's guys to talk to, and maybe you want some autographs, and you're hunting for certain cards or certain things, or whatever it is. It's really a thing that you can't fit into one day. Even walking the floor myself, I mean, I remember walking the floor the last day of the national, and you gotta remember, we get up there 3 days early and we don't leave until the day after it closes. And I remember being out there the last day, and I was like looking around like, I haven't been to this area yet. Not that we get a whole lot of time to walk around and shop, but at the same time, you kind of pace the floor every once in a while to stretch your legs out. There's a lot. If it's your first time going, you definitely get the booklet, determine like what you want to see, who you want to go, where you want to stop at. Are there autographs you want to get? You got to plan your day a little bit. It's a big deal. It's like Comic-Con, but for baseball cards.
Cash is king. Is that true?
Yeah, except at our booth because we don't take cash.
Good. All right. Anybody got any questions? Let's see here. Sean looks like he's got one in a Kansas City show tomorrow. First one they had. I know we had one in Charlotte a couple of weeks back, and it got canceled the day before. But 2 weekends before, there was one in Raleigh. And so they let them have it in Raleigh, and then they didn't let them have it in Charlotte. So that kind of sucked. So,
was it the one in Raleigh that's over by that big, like, I don't know.
At the fairgrounds?
Yeah, the fairgrounds. Yeah, we did that show in November of last year.
Okay. Man. Golly.
Yep.
I like
that was actually a cool show too for me because I always go with another guy. And that show, I actually brought my son with me. He was my second guy to go because we were up visiting Duke that weekend, and it all worked out. So he got to be my wingman that weekend at the show, and it was kind of cool. He got to see firsthand what it's like. He actually works. His summer job is at SGC. He's part of our scanning department, and so last year he got to go to a national in Chicago, and then he got to go to that show with me. But that show he actually got to work at the table, which was kind of cool. We got to have a little father-son weekend.
And you've touched on it a little bit. Let folks, if you don't mind, just let folks know what your position there is, and that.
Sure.
If you don't mind.
No, that's fine. So I'm the executive account manager. It's kind of like being the director of sales. I deal with mostly our bulk customers, 100 cards or more. The larger customers, the guys that sub the most stuff, typically go through me. I do a little bit of everything, kind of a jack of all trades, but I also am the guy who schedules our shows, and I'm part of the field team that goes out. I kind of lead that group of guys that go out to the shows and kind of boots on the ground guys. But every day, my day-to-day activities at SGC are handling our largest submitters.
Good. All right, cool. Let's see. Here's something. Just as a hobbyist, being in the hobby, you see anything working on plastic protections replace Ultra Pro? Just as the hobby, have you heard anything?
No, I haven't heard anything.
There's been some chatter, and about plastic and the price of plastic going up. I think that's probably relative, to where it's made and getting shipped in. Everything overseas is just going up on everything.
And look, a lot of that is also COVID related as well.
Mm-hmm.
You think about what's happened with card savers. Card savers have become like the hot commodity. Card savers are like the summer's toilet paper for the hobby guys. You remember in March and April, you couldn't go and get toilet paper anywhere. Now you can't get card savers anywhere. And I think that what happened there is it wound up being this like perfect storm of everybody wants to collect cards and submit cards for grading, and COVID has shut down all these factories, and plastic prices are going up, and they can't meet demand. I mean, heck, even the grading companies have trouble getting card savers. PSA, Beckett, us, a lot of people ask, like, what do you do with the card savers when you get them in? The reality is we reuse them, because so many guys don't have them, but we need to have them for our graders, and so does everybody else. All the grading companies do. So we all reuse all the card savers that come in. They're hard to come by.
Cool. Now, as a PCer, you're buying product, maybe off of eBay or Facebook, whatever platform you're using.
Mm-hmm.
With the shortage of plastic and new people too, I've experienced and I've seen some crazy ass packaging. Have you had to deal with any of your personal transactions? I mean, I saw somebody post a video where it was in a priority mail flat envelope with an envelope with the card wrapped in plastic wrap.
Yeah, I've seen some of those too. I'm always interested when I see, obviously not. I see a lot of guys posted online on their packaging. I will tell you that I've seen some incredible packaging jobs, both good and bad. on kind of just the everyday basis. We see some interesting things sometimes. I will I will give you all a piece of advice, not even a piece of advice, but how about a request? And I'm sure that Luan and Tomer and Matt and the other guys in our receiving room will appreciate it. You don't have to wrap every single card 72 times to make sure it gets received the right way. The less we have to cut into it, the better. I know those guys would appreciate that little public service announcement. Some of the stuff we get in is challenging sometimes. If you have a hard time putting your card in the package or in the card saver, or however you do it, then I promise it's a heck of a lot harder for us to get it out. So whoever you're submitting your cards to, please keep in mind that you have guys in the receiving room that are trying to open as many boxes as they can and get as many cards out as safely as they can, and don't make it any more hard for those guys.
I don't even tape mine. I'll put my penny sleeve and then a Ultra Pro, and I put them together, and then I sandwich them between two pieces of cardboard, and I rubber band it.
Perfect. Couldn't ask you to do more than that.
And just rubber band it. They're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
Put them in the box. If I need to, to keep it from shifting, I'll throw some, the plastic bags you get from the grocery store. Stuff that in there to keep it from moving. It's pretty simple. You got to think what's going to make it easier. Sheer volume of whoever you're sending it to. Everybody's getting waylaid. You don't need any more downtime than what you got trying to process stuff, just like on any other job anywhere else.
Right. And don't Scotch tape the top of your card savers closed, because we got to cut them open then, and that makes it nervous. That makes us really nervous.
Thank you. Scotch tape is the devil. Mama said Scotch tape. Y'all stop Scotch taping stuff. Jeez Louise. Oh,
I do have a good story about packaging cards for you. So Brian and I were out in Santa Monica doing a show last year. The guys out there at the Bullpen LA, Mitch, I don't know if you ever met Mitch. He's an interesting character. You'll see him if you go to the National. He walks around with no shoes on. He's great. So he was putting on a show for the Bullpen LA, and we were doing the show. So an older gentleman walks up to us, and he says, "Hey, I have some cards that I'd like you guys to look at." And we're like, "Okay, let us see what you have." And he pulls out a velvet Crown Royal bag out of like his back pocket, and he opens it up, and he dumps it onto the table, and just raw cards fall out of this thing, and they land on the table. He's got like 3 Jordan rookies in there, and we were like, "What are you doing with these cards?" And I'll never forget. He was like, "Oh, I had another one, but my granddaughter, she bent it, so I threw it in the garbage." And we were like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" But he had his Jordan rookie cards raw, floating around in a Crown Royal bag in his back pocket. That's probably one of the best ones we've had at the show.
Wow, man, that's crazy. All right, y'all. Anybody got anything before we jump off here? My man's trying to get some stuff done, and he's taking.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't realize how late it was.
I just saw. I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's been rolling pretty good." Andy, you got anything in closing you want to share?
No, listen, guys. I just want to let you know. First of all, thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate it. I love talking sports. I love talking about the hobby, and I'm available anytime. And I just want to let everybody else know out there that we appreciate everything you're doing for the hobby. This is not a commercial for SGC in any way. As a collector, as someone who's involved in athletics and in collectibles, keep it up, guys. You guys are awesome. Every one of you guys. I enjoy talking to every one of you. Even some of you guys that get angry at me sometimes through the emails, I still love every one of you. And I really do appreciate everyone's passion for what our thing, this thing of ours out here. And it's pretty cool. So I appreciate you guys spending some time with me tonight. I really do.
Man, we really appreciate you being on here. Y'all, if you can hit the like button for me. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. If not, keep watching. I appreciate everybody joining on here. This is the second night in a row. This is a a good one for me. And this is something me and Andy have been trying to work on for several weeks with scheduling and everything. And thank you so much for taking the time. Thank your son for me. I know he's sitting there. Thank you, sir, for sacrificing sitting through here. I'm sure there was probably taking a nice little nap going down the road instead of hearing a bunch of old guys be nerds.
Yeah, he's used to it at this point.
Awesome. Good luck with your SAT, sir.
All right.
Well, Andy, stay on here for just a second while I disconnect everybody and just chat to you real quick. Okay.
You got it. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. Thank you again. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for the great comments and chats. Really enjoyed it. Everybody jumping in. Hey, Jay Michelin, thank you. Everybody have a good night. Remember what we always say, keep your head up, your eyes up, head on a swivel. Deuces, we're out.